Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. This is the High Caliber Man podcast with myself, Hugh Mayers, and this week I am joined by Abu Bakr, otherwise known as Babou. Greetings, my brother. How you doing?
How you doing, brother? I'm good, man. Give thanks and praise. Summer's here now. A little bit of rain, but we're getting through it. It's all
Yes,
good.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Praise the
Good to
Lord.
catch up with you.
Mhm. Yeah.
We spoke some time ago about your, history in hip hop, in the arts, and performing arts, but today's a totally different topic. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about your knowledge in terms of the business world and your knowledge in terms of working with young people. But I guess the first question, first talking point, um, actually, what's more important is for me to ask
Yeah.
you, what is it you do right now? What is it you do right
Okay. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit of a low key guy. I like to keep quiet. Like, I don't want the whole world to know my business. But you know how it is. Uh, but in short, I do a few other things related to projects related to third world countries, more like a facilitator for to bring in more like a justified projects for Africa and stuff like that that would benefit the average family, the average people, just to kind of help the development, so to say, in a short space of frame. But that's just I don't want to go in too much on what I do because I do a lot of few things. I got my hands on few things, but in short, just to answer your question related to like entertainment side and all that you mentioned, I would say I work with a company. We specialize in supporting the art. So if people are into art, whether if it's film, music, especially, and actually making a living doing something out of it, and don't want to get trapped and exploited by this traditional way of advancing and stuff like that. We offer more advances that's more focused on the art and the artistry. So we support people financially to pursue their endeavors and dreams and future plans of projects they want to work on. So financially, they'd be more secure without actually having some people on their back or late payment fees, because all of that is an entrapment to kind of put you in a weird debt, and maybe to get your catalog. So we don't do any of that. We specialize in just focusing on the art and make sure, as long as they get some money coming in, we be able to advance them nicely so they be more secure to continue whatever they're doing or their future plans and stuff like that. So in short, without saying too much, that's one of the things I do.
now? Okay, sounds
Yeah.
interesting. And to
Yeah.
me, as somebody that's outside of the business, it almost sounds like you're saying it's a type of PR or brand building, but ethically based, so that the artist is not exploited, but they're helping them to produce their
Yeah.
art and not be compromised from the business point of view.
Yeah, so it's not really brand related, but I do have other angles where I kind of connect artists with brands and stuff like that as well. So so I don't do one thing really. I keep my
You
hands
wear
on
lots of hats, yeah? You
few
wear
things.
lots of hats.
Yeah, but obviously I come from the entertainment side, and now we focus on help people that's doing something that's good, artfully, especially something within art and art and expression, because all of that it's one. Yeah, just to help them out to pursue whatever they want to do without having to actually go join a major that's going to exploit you. As long as they're making a living, they could be even on the major, but maybe they find our system more favorable than to go and get a advance from a label that's going to kind of put you in debt and take your catalog. And
Hmm.
outside of that, I also deal with an investment firm that deals with few associates of investors. So they're interested in acquisition. So they would acquire, catalogs of value or companies that holds catalogs of value. So yeah, this sounds a little bit more like a promotion for me, like to promote it to the people, the service I do, come to me. If everything I said sounds good, come to me. But yeah, anyway,
No,
yeah,
it's no problem, man. You're here. This is a public
yeah,
conversation. It's just to
yeah,
give the viewers a chance to kind of like understand your perspective before we take a deep dive into the subject matter at hand. But just gently introducing them to
yeah,
yourself. You
yeah.
used to work with young people in the past, right?
Yes, I did. So yeah, I mean, I come from a very social background growing up in Gambia. So, and even as a young, I used to entertain other young people. I used to come outside the box, making theater out of a box, drawing figures. So I've always been someone that likes to kind of, entertain people, get them kind of, make them feel comfortable, enjoy life a little bit. I've always been that part. But yeah, but jump back to your question. Yeah, I worked in Sweden. I was part of a small collective, part of the boards and the organizers. It was funded by a friend of mine called Polky. He's a actor, actually done a lot of theater stuff in Sweden. So in short, we were collaborating with the cultural department in Stockholm. So they gave us the cultural building, like the main cultural thing, to have an event. It was like a monthly event. We
Mm-hmm.
did something called public poetry, and that was mainly designed to kind of get the young people, get the youths into art more than kind of maybe when they don't have nothing to do, no leisure, no recreation, they end up hanging around in the streets and get into crime and bad things. So that was more to
Something
like
about like
divert them.
constructive, keeping them focused and constructive.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we were using art as a method, and that was more music stuff. So they would come and perform. Even we were performing, but then also we would bring bands that are well known, to come and perform. But then also we'd open a platform for young people to actually put some of their music stuff together to perform. So that was called public poetry, and it did quite well actually. And it was even covered on Swedish TV and stuff like that.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I want to hit you with the social issue. I want to find out your perspective on social issues. There's a
yeah,
video we both seen, and I'm going to put the video in the chat. It's a video by Jason Wilson, who is
yeah.
we could call him like a martial arts expert stroke mentor. I think it's a bit in disservice because he does something that's really deep in it. But I'm just describing it kind of simplistic level, but it's pretty deep, right? And there's a
Mm,
video that's
mm,
out, and he's talking with, it's a little excerpt from some of the workshop, some of the sessions that he's doing. And there's a young man that's struggling,
yeah.
emotionally breaking down in tears, and he's
Mm,
really questioning him about what is it that is making him upset,
mm.
what's going on for him, and then using it as a teaching moment. I want to get your
Yeah.
perspective on that video.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let me jump in. I needed to add something to the previous question. So I do also from Sweden working with mental youths and stuff. I came to UK, London, worked for Islington Council, working with children and family. So
Hmm.
within children and family, it's different cases, could be anything related to family. So I was doing assessment of that, so to say. So that's also part of my experience. So that has a lot to do with, day-to-day situations with youth. So going back to Jason's documentary there, I mean, I think what it's doing is good. I think it needs to be put out there more for people to actually know about it. When we were young in the early 90s, people did stuff. You played football and maybe you had karate lessons. That was like standard. Maybe not here, but like growing up in Sweden, that
So
was like standard.
you're talking about being active.
Yeah, it was about being
Yeah.
active. So it was, kids have programs after school. You play in a team, whether if it's basketball or football, you play in a team. And also apart from that, a lot of people are into like martial art, like from young, like early 90s when we were just kid, like 11, 12 years old. We were taking classes, karate classes, this and that,
Mhm.
jujutsu. That's in Sweden, though. I don't know about here, but that was standard, and I'm guessing here as well. It was
No, here
quite
as well,
standard.
we used
Like
to get
kids,
active. We used to
like
get active. We used to
yeah,
have
people did some
boxing classes,
sports.
karate
Yeah, some
classes. This is even
sports.
back in
Yeah,
primary school.
yeah. So all of that obviously derailed away from lack of funding. So if they talk about like how do we tackle this youth crime and how do we keep the how can we motivate the youth? I mean, just bring we had social clubs even
Mhm.
kids youth clubs. Where are they now? So there was stuff like that. So the youths are not to blame now. I think everything's been digitalized. So you rather stay at home and speak, get on FaceTime with your friend that lives just 2 blocks away from you, that you can meet up, go to the park, do something. So kids are not being motivated to do something physical. So I think what he's doing is great because that
Mhm.
from there it could birth some champion down the line. But not only that, he's giving the kids something else outside of just what technology gives you today, because technology is the one raising the youths now.
What do
It's
you think he's
raising
giving
even
it?
the
What do you think
adults.
he's giving the young people then? What do you think he's giving them?
I mean, I think he's given them motivation, and he's given them something just outside of what the school might give. You know, you come out from school, he's given them something, and I think he's given them a role modelship as well. And I don't know if that word actually exists. I just made it up now. I'm saying that
Like,
role
I understand what
modelship.
you mean.
Yes, but you know they add ship to anything because it's a ship thing. It's a pirate law, so I might as well add that. So there you go. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So he gives that kind of a because not all kids have the best role models or even have a male role model at home, and if they do, how well male role model is that? Because if those parents are also, you know, a young parent and imprinted in the norms of society, they might lack a lot of the values that maybe you and I, when we were growing up, had that we would instill on our kids as well. So you know, you have to like not blame the kids for anything. Sometimes you have to also look at the parents, like how much do they know. But going back to his what he's doing, I think that needs to be supported more, and I think that needs to be pushed out there more for people to actually be more aware of, and that could be spread from different cities even without him having to travel to all those cities. If you have a master class of people that are quite you know competence in those areas of martial art, then they could handle the same as a franchise in other cities, because I think the youths need something, you know.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's my advice to him, and he might like my advice, so I
If
might
they're
have to
not
come
doing
for
that
him.
already, that is probably something that if they haven't started doing that, they might need to explore because you know
Yeah.
you might come up with something as Babou and it's excellent, but you can only be in a
Yes.
certain amount of places at one
Exactly.
time. If it's just about you talking online, for example, a million people
It
can
could
watch at the
it
same
could
time,
be a
that's fine.
network of
But
things
if
that could
it's about
happen
being
in
in
different
physical
cities.
space and being active, then as you
Yeah.
said, you might be a kind of patent type of situation where you train people to deliver, deliver
Yeah.
your program, But yeah,
Deliver the
but the
program for
reason
you.
why I chose that video to discuss, and like I said, it's going to
Mm,
be, I'll put the link in the chat, is because
mm,
it was a certain way that he had with, it seemed like he was allowing the young man to be emotional in the sense of he was breaking down and in tears, and he didn't penalize him for that, but he's
yeah.
saying, you feel this type of way, you feel this type of emotion, but
Mm,
don't allow it to incapacitate you. You can feel it because we're human and we
yeah.
have these experiences,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
still, life
Mm,
as a boy and growing into a man is going to have certain certain
mm,
demands on you, and you don't
yeah.
matter how you feel. You can feel how
Mm,
you feel, but at times
mm,
you're going to need to be disciplined enough to do A,
yeah.
B, or C. And so I read that really stuck with me, and I just wanted to tap into
Mm,
your working with the young people, and if you notice the difference between the way that in terms of supporting boys and supporting
yeah.
girls, because they obviously young people need support, but was there something that you
Yes.
observed that was different, the way that the boys may have organized or operated in comparison to their female female peers?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I'd say, you know, I think women are more organized, even girls. You know, there's a saying in my culture that the women they mature earlier than the boys.
Hmm.
Yeah, when we're growing up young, and I think that's true because when we were quite young, you see some of the women's like some of the girls developing, becoming a woman earlier on. The boys are still maybe a little bit playful. We're still boys. We more physical. We like to do physical things. Girls are more kind of a focus and more planned. You know, they structure these things more.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think both of them could complement each other, but that's the difference between a man and a woman in that way, you know, like from growing up on those stages of adolescence. But so saying that, I think what he's doing is good because you know you need to also remember that our boys are acting like girls because society, boys have been feminized. So you know, so they confuse. They are more confused than girls even, because boys should be boys and boys will be boys. But if society kind of
Can you
from
expand on that? That
young,
sounds too interesting just to pass by. Can you feel free
yeah,
to elaborate?
yeah. I mean, what I would say is that how are you? Here's a little boy actually always come and say hi. You want to say hi? I'm in the mosque actually, just
Okay,
waiting out for
okay.
prayer. Yeah. Oh, are you guys? Are you? It's a little sister here. How are you? You want to say hi quickly on the camera? say hi to my friend. So yeah, the youths are here. You know, how are you? And say hi. Come say hi. Ah, she's shy. Yeah. So
No worries, no worries.
yeah, yeah. So saying that, you know, they are now targeted to kind of have no identity. When we grow up, you're a boy. You know,
Hmm.
so they are taking on. I wouldn't say they're taking on girl, female issues growing up, but it's a confusion that's going on boys. So I think what this guy, brother Jason's doing, if I get his
Hmm.
name right again,
Hmm.
it's excellent. He let them express their emotion. If they sad, because a lot of boys hold a lot of anger in them, and that's why from 7 years to 16 years, if that's not being dealt with, that's why you hear them doing XYZ or hanging
Hmm.
out and
Hmm.
following peer pressure and stuff like that. And there's a lot of anger at home because it's like mom saying one thing, they scream because there's an anger that built up for some time. Dad's may be around, or maybe dad's not around, but the woman is given more power here. So the system tells the woman, even if the man's in the house, the system lets the woman say, "You the man, you the dad," at the same time in terms of power and what you could do. Not the basic principles of what they could actually instill and offer the child, because a woman would be a woman. You can't be a man. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
how much you try. So if you're a mother, be a good mother, but the child would also need the other sex to have that balance. And especially when society is targeting the boys and the youths in general,
Hmm.
it they're victimized.
So
Either
is it,
either
I'm
for
just checking in with you, yeah? Would you
yeah,
say
yeah,
from your perspective in Western society there is a kind of effeminization of
yes,
boys? That
yes,
there's something almost like with feminism and stuff like this, I'm added on
yes,
to, but almost as
yes.
if boys are inadequate females, and so the way to correct them is to feminize them
They
to
have to
make them
be,
more
yeah,
to make them more
yeah,
female, and it would make them
pro-feminist
inherently
when they grow up.
more credible or more correct.
Yeah, and
Wow.
pro-feminist when they grow up. That's what it builds. It's all
Hmm.
about building, like the man is the how can I say, the opposition. This is how they see it's a war. No, God created us to complement each other. you know.
Okay.
But then the devil comes and take over, because the devil controls the society we live in. Let's be real to the majority.
Hmm.
So saying that, so what it does is that it then says, okay, let's break the young. The older men, they're men. So systematically, you are oppressed if it comes to family situation. And I'm saying that because I used to work for children and family, dealing with
Hmm.
family cases.
Hmm.
So I'm not someone from outside making up something or saying someone else's story. I can use my own story, even with my son, and bringing a woman here and stuff like that. But that's a separate conversation. It packaged for the woman. Here you go. This is ready made for you. You get a flat. You get the kid. You get this. You get it that, and the guy have to pay, and then he's kind of the outsider. That's what the system already set in place for everyone already. And
Hmm.
that's not really looking after the children, even the daughters, and the daughters also need their dad. So I'm not even focusing just on the boy, but especially the boy is a boy. There's a genetic connection there. He's going to grow to be a man. But the system don't want that, because a man is an opposition to what the system wants. It's all built on feministic, because I think they see the woman as the weaker one. So they brainwash the woman to be like, oh, you in charge. We're going to put you in charge, and this and this and that, because she be easier to manipulate than a man who has his own value, a grown up man who has his dignity, who's a man of God. That's what the system's against. So these boys, if you feminize them early, they be more how can I say, accepting.
So I want to send a special thanks and special shout out to Brother Babou for spending his time and sharing his ideas. He raised some really fascinating points. One of the points that we were able to speak about was the way that, society, he was sharing his ideas that society is making boys much more feminine than they were traditionally. And that in that feminineness, um, if there is such a word, it is making the boys grow up into men that are very pliable. That the architects or the social engineers are creating generations of men that are very pliable and very conformist, and not just conformist, but they are what you would call feminist advocates. He talked about how children, students spend so much of their waking hours in school that they are so influenced by the educational institutions, and that goes up the food chain to, in other words, those people who are the architects behind the educational system, those people in senior government, these type of ideologues, that they are the ones that are really parenting the children or having more influence at times, or in some respects, than actual children's biological parents, and that there are unequivocally differences between male and female, absolutely unequivocal, but these differences are not antagonistic, that they are in fact complementary. Even if the society at times seems to push for a kind of sameness, and I think the final point that Babou was sharing in the conversation that we had was related to children sometimes being confused in this 21st century around their identity, that there's lots of ideas floating around that makes it very difficult for children to come to a kind of a clarity of who they want to be and how they want to meet the world, how they want to represent themselves in the world. So like I said, I really thank him for his time. Really interesting conversation, really thought-provoking conversation. Thank you for staying with us for the duration of the High Caliber Man podcast, and feel free to share, to like, or hit the subscribe button for your free subscription. Until next time, remember to stay safe. Peace.